All right, today we're gonna be unboxing the Palmetto State Armory AKV. This is something I've been wanting to get on the channel for quite some time. I've just not had an opportunity to get one. So first, inside the box, there's a bag. So in there, you're gonna get a PSA branded cable lock, as well as your manual. So like most PSA manuals, this one's just gonna be black and white with actual photographs and very simple instructions on disassembling and cleaning, as well as your standard PSA sticker. And also in the box is going to be a single round magazine. So I'll go more in detail on these mags, but when it comes to value on the construction of these and capacity, I think they're definitely worth, if you just want to get into a PCC platform and magazines like with your MPXs, how they're $50, these are a great value. Let me get the box out of the way, and then we'll start going to the features of the AKV itself. All right, got everything out of the way. So a couple things I just want to get out there right off the bat is that this gun was sent to the channel by PSA. However, it's not a free gun. I am going to end up purchasing it after finishing my review period. One other thing I wanted to point out was you may have seen on the box, as well as when we start going over through the features, that you're going to see that these are labeled as Soviet arms, both on the box, on the firearm, as well as on the magazines themselves. So I did reach out to my rep over at PSA just to ask, like, what's the reasoning behind that? Is it just a change in name, or is it an actual change in manufacturer? He told me that it was just a change in name only, just to give homage to where these AK platforms come from and just to kind of set them apart from their AR line of things. You'll see some that are labeled PSA, as well as some magazines that are also labeled PSA. However, they're all pretty much the same. And one other thing I did want to mention was that because this is a review video, it's going to be a little bit longer. So this initial portion is going to be the unboxing and talking about the features of the AKV, and then come back and let you guys know my final thoughts and opinions on the AKV. So we'll start off with some close-up shots. So if you didn't know, these are essentially clones of the Russian Vityaz SN submachine gun. And there's a couple different variants of this. So this one was definitely one of my favorites, with the aluminum handguard in the front and the brace in the rear, as well as the Magpul pistol grip. But there's a few that are going to have wood furniture, so it'll come with a wood handguard as well as a wood grip. And there's a couple with different braces. I would have liked to have had the folding brace option, but the SBA3 is a tried and true brace as it is. So we'll start things first with the barrel. So the barrel here is going to be a 10.3 inch barrel constructed of 4150 steel, and it features a nitride finish. The front end is going to be threaded 1/2x28, and it's going to include PSA's tanker style muzzle brake. So you can see it's got ports on the top, no ports on the bottom, and then two larger ports on the side. So the way that these muzzle devices on AKs work is that there will be a detent towards the front here. You'll push down on that, and then you'll be able to remove the muzzle device. So with these, PSA does recommend using a jam nut if you do plan on using a suppressor on the end there. The handguard, so this handguard is going to be constructed of aluminum. I did ask what type of aluminum, whether they're using 6065 or 7075 aluminum. I couldn't get a 100% answer on that, but they are finished in a type 3 hard coat anodized finish. So there'll be two sections to the handguard. You have an upper section and a lower section. The upper section is going to have Picatinny rail across the top side, M-lock slots on the sides. So you have two on the left and two on the right. And then the bottom section, you're gonna have 3 M-lock slots on the left and right, as well as 3 on the very bottom. So very nicely stylized handguard here. I really like how chunky it is. Very reminiscent of the thickness of like an MPX or MCX style handguard. Moving on back to the iron sights. So this rear sight, very similar to AK 74 style sights. So it's just going to have a very rudimentary notched rear sight on that hinged top cover. And the front sight is going to be a hooded front sight, and it is adjustable. So that rear sight is not adjustable. Moving on back to the dust cover, also constructed of aluminum. Again, not a particular aluminum I could find what type it is, but it does feature a type 3 hard coat anodized finish. And like I said, the front iron sight is essentially where the hinge is. So you'll push this button in the rear to get the top cover to come up. As you can see there, it is hinged, and it's a very rigid mounting system. So I wouldn't worry too much about mounting red dots on here. Moving on back to the receiver. So the receiver is going to be constructed of stamped steel with a 1mm thickness, and it features a black Teflon paint coating all throughout. So the receiver is going to be from this rear portion here all the way to the front, and there's the other side there. And if you look down here, this is going to be your magazine well. So with the AKV, the magazine well is going to be separate, and this is going to be constructed of aluminum, as well as feature a Type 3 hard coat anodized finish. The mag well is slightly flared on the bottom there. Moving on to the back. So this particular model is going to come with the rear AR-15 buffer tube end plate. So you can see this is just a standard end plate here, and then this is a buffer tube attachment, as well as an SBA3 pistol brace. And the SBA3, as most of you probably know, is going to feature QD slots on the left as well as the right, and it is adjustable. And so your other sling attachment point is going to be on the end here via a sling loop in front of the handguard. And taking a look at the staking of the castle nut and end plate, it is staked in 2 different spots. Moving on to the bolt and front trunnion. Both are going to be constructed of forged steel and feature a black oxide finish, and the bolt is going to be where your integrated charging handle is. And down below is going to be a Magpul MOE AK grip, probably one of my favorite grips when it comes to the AK platform. I really do not like the standard plastic grips that typically come on them. Moving on to the controls. So your safety selector, this is going to be an enlarged safety selector. So you can see the ends of it right here extend out pretty far, and it's going to have 3 positions. So you're going to have safe all the way on the top. The very middle position on a regular AK is going to be full auto, and then down below is going to be semi. So even though this one does have the detent, it's still only going to fire in semi-auto. The mag release is going to be a paddle mag release, and the mag release is going to be a paddle style mag release, and it's going to have some horizontal texturing on the back side here. I'll go ahead and demonstrate how that works. So there's the magazine. You rip it out just like that. So one of the controls that at first really stumped me on as far as what it was is going to be this switch right here that you see on the magazine well. So what that's going to be is going to be your bolt hold, bolt release. So if you push up right here while pulling the charging handle to the rear, you'll feel it click into place, and that'll hold your bolt to the rear. And then as you pull it down, that'll send the bolt home. And this does have last round bolt hold open. So nothing in the magazine. Pull the bolt to the rear, release the magazine, and the bolt does stay open. So let's move on over to the magazines, since I did mention them in the beginning. So typically you can get these on sale for around $16, $17. And if you buy more than one, you can get them on a discounted rate. So these are very nice mags as far as pricing is concerned. So they are going to be constructed of an impact and chemical resistant polymer. The feed lips are going to be constructed of 17-4 stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about anything breaking there. The follower is going to be constructed of Delrin and is an anti-tilt follower. And the floor plate is going to be constructed of polymer, as well as have a rubber coating on the bottom here, also for impact resistance. So these are also offered in a bunch of different colors. You're going to have black, FDE, translucent smoke, OD green, gray, white, as well as a hand-painted banana magazine. And I'll go ahead and flash a picture of how those look here. And there's also plum magazines, and I bought a few extra of the plum just to kind of see what the color looked like. So it's very similar to the black, but if you really look at it, it's kind of like a mixture of brown and a very dark purple. I really like the color of those. So as far as value is concerned, I think as long as they're reliable, I think it's a great price on these round magazines. All right, so now we're going to move on to the review portion of the AKV video. So I've been with the AKV for quite a few months now, and maybe shot around 700 to 900 rounds through it, all with the various plum mags that I got after the fact and the single black magazine that came in the box. And so far it's been great. The only issues failure-wise that I ran into were a couple of failure feed, failure to extract, and that was mainly due to me using some reloads of mine. They're a particular length and they're very underpowered as far as on the powder scale goes. And I mainly shoot those out of my M9. They perform great out of the M9. They feed, extract, do everything as they should do. But with most of the PCCs I shoot them out of, they fail to want to work correctly. So I'm not really gonna put that against the AKV per se. That's more or less an ammo issue. Like I've said in the past, with platforms that aren't AR platforms, I really enjoy learning a new platform. So this is kind of my first time with a full-on AK platform for this long, and kind of getting over the couple hurdles like the charging handle, safety selector, like that. I like doing that in my review portion and going to the range and learning something new that isn't an AR. I know ARs very well and they're very intuitive. So I did add a couple things. The first is a Romeo 5 red dot by 6 Hour on the top, as well as a Surefire mini scout towards the front. And I also added a hand stop on the bottom, as well as a section of Magpul M-Lock grip panel on the bottom. So like with most of my reviews, I always like to kind of start off with the bad portions. And this is going to be kind of, I guess, the opposite end of where I said I enjoy learning a new platform. And it's the one inherent thing that I struggle with, and I also notice a lot of people struggle with when it comes to AKs, and that's the controls. So specifically the charging handle on AKs, you're typically only going to see them on the right side. And so you do have a couple of options as when it comes to charging an AK. You can continue holding with your support hand and go to charge the charging handle with your right hand like that. You can hold it with your dominant hand, turn the AK sideways and charge it like this, or you can do the under pull, like go under the mag well, pull it to the rear and let it go. So I was kind of working through that when I was using this at the range and just kind of figuring out what was good for me. So like I said, it's not really a knock on the AKV particularly, but this is a hurdle you kind of have to learn past. The safety selector. So on AKs, the safety selector is always going to be on the right side. This one does have an extended lever. So you've got a little bit of knurling on the back and it's a little bit farther out, and you've got a little bit on the front as well. So I've manipulated a few different AKs where the safety selector was looser. This one's quite tight, but I'm sure over time, or maybe even with a modification or two, I could really loosen that safety selector up. But again, that's kind of something you have to work through when getting into the AK platform. So the good, a lot of times with 9mm PCCs, AR9s, Scorpion, or whatever, because they're blowback, you're gonna get a lot of recoil, both felt as well as a little bit of muzzle rise. So the muzzle brake on the end does a lot of work for you as far as mitigating muzzle rise. And I don't know if it's the recoil spring design of the AK platform or just this platform in general, but I also felt like the felt recoil was very minimal compared to other 9mm PCCs. So a lot of times you get a lot of weight coming back at you on your shoulder, and you do feel it a lot with other 9mm, but this one, it's a very limited feel in regards to felt recoil. The other thing I really liked, and this is a downfall of a lot of AKs, is optics mounting. So you'll run into 3 different styles of optics mounting when it comes to AKs. You'll have a side mounted rail. You can replace the dust cover with a rail dust cover, or sometimes people will mount an optic way up front on the handguard. All 3 of those all have their own little issues. Replacing the dust cover, every time you remove it, you're gonna lose 0. Sometimes these side mounted ones, you can run into issues with mounting of rails, holding 0, straight alignment. You can run into issues if you don't have a cover such as the one on the AKV. So like I said in the beginning, the AKV's dust cover is hinged. So it stays in the same place every single time you bring it up and then when you bring it down. Now I did remove this multiple times to shoot like this, just for the video footage, just kind of look over everything as I was going through the rounds. And not a single time where I did fold the dust cover up and then put it back down did I ever lose 0. It held 0 all the way through. So my final thoughts. I definitely think whether you're in the AK platform or not, the AKV is a solid choice when it comes to a 9mm PCC. And I definitely feel comfortable recommending it to you guys if you're looking for a good, well-rounded addition to your collection. If I had an AKV, an AR-9, and a Scorpion to choose from, I would most likely probably go with the AKV. Mainly because I like the look of it, I like the recoil impulse you get from it, or lack thereof, and I really like the trigger on the AKV. It's a very solid trigger. I am thinking about upgrading that to the ALG enhanced trigger, but we'll see down the line. And pretty much everything about this just feels very solid. The handguard feels very solid. It's a very big piece of aluminum, and everything is just built really nice in regards to most of your 9mm PCCs. So if you guys have any questions on the Palmetto State Armory AKV, drop a comment down below and I'll do my best to get back with you. Thank y'all for watching.